The Andy Dalton starting experiment was a success. Ian, you agree?
I would agree.
And it's glad to see some winning Panther football again. Now we got a different energy today. So I think that's what the fans are looking for, instead of, a little more misery than we have had. So you ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready,
All right,
man.
let's get it going.
Touchdown, Carolina! You're listening to the Buzz Pound.
Smith scores, and the Carolina Panthers win in overtime.
A Queen City sports podcast covering your Charlotte Hornets and Carolina Panthers.
Halliburton, nowhere to go! LaMelo's done it! LaMelo's done it! Hornets win! Here comes LaMelo.
Here are your hosts, Ian Blair and Cam Gardner.
Thanks for joining the Buzz Pound today for week 3 as we cover the Panthers versus Las Vegas Raiders on a successful win. Ian, what are your thoughts after a 36-22 win?
Man, it feels good to win. Feels good to be back in the win column, especially after the first 2 weeks. I was worried we weren't gonna see a win all year, but it was really nice. Obviously, headlined by Andy Dalton and his performance, played really well on Sunday with 3 touchdown passes. I mean, it was just a breath of fresh air, man. It was, a long time coming, kind of had doubts. We were starting to have doubts about the offseason additions. And I think our offseason additions played incredible. I mean, pretty much everybody we acquired during the offseason, from Robert Hunt laying a block on a DB to Deontay Johnson having a career day. I mean, it was really nice to see, us finally put it together and get a team win.
Yeah, I agree, man. I'm gonna go over a little bit of stats here. Like you say, Andy Dalton had 3 touchdowns along with 26 completed passes out of 37 attempts and 319 yards. He went up against Gardner Minshew II, who had 18 completed passes out of 28 attempts, 214 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. That actually worked in our favor a bit there. For rushing, Chuba Hubbard, 21 carries, 114 yards. Miles Sanders, 7 carries, 17 yards, 1 touchdown. On the receiving side of things, Deontay Johnson had 8 receptions, 122 yards, 1 touchdown. Chuba Hubbard was actually on the receiving side of things as well, again, with 5 receptions, 55 yards, 1 touchdown. Xavier Legette, 2 receptions, 42 yards. And then Adam Thielen, 3 receptions, 40 yards, with 1 touchdown, who unfortunately went down with a hamstring injury during that touchdown, which caused him to miss the remainder of the game. And actually, about an hour or so ago, it was reported that he's expected to miss some time, which is unfortunate. But I think with the young talent that we have, we'll be able to carry the load pretty well moving forward until he gets back.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Like I said, like I mentioned, Andy Dalton looked great. It was nice to see, the playbook opened up quite a bit with Andy Dalton under center. It was kind of nice to see some throws down the field. Obviously, Andy looked great. I mean, what really sticks out in my mind is the touchdown to Adam Thielen, with 23 seconds left in the second or in the first half, and it was just a dime. I mean, the touchdown to Deontay Johnson looked really good too. He made good decisions. There was a couple decisions, a couple passes he threw that could have been picked off that weren't. But besides that, I mean, all around great performance for Andy Dalton. Really, really brought some life into this offense and brought some life into this team. As well to mention, Chuba Hubbard with a great game, rushing the ball, played well. The running game was great all game. Caught some passes out of the backfield, obviously had a receiving touchdown, but it was just nice to see, man. It's just nice to finally have some positivity in this organization. Hopefully we can parlay this into next week against the Bengals and, have some success next week. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think going back to Bryce Young, it shines kind of a dark light on him a little bit. I mean, obviously only after 1 week. I'm not ready to count Bryce out yet. And there's nothing that says Andy Dalton doesn't go out next week and throw 3 interceptions. I hope that doesn't happen. God forbid that happens. But it's the NFL season is a long season, and there's a lot more games to be played. And if Andy Dalton continues to have success and continues to play the way he does, I think it's going to say a lot about Bryce Young.
Not 100%. I mean, you and I were texting back and forth yesterday and then listening to, some analysts like Pat McAfee, Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharp, and such earlier today. The number one thing is, can that momentum keep up with Andy Dalton? Like you said, I mean, he had this one good game against the Raiders. He could easily go out there this upcoming weekend against the Bengals and, make a bad showing. Let's hope not after this game he had, because it showed that he still got it for the most part, what we've seen with that stat line that he had by the time we got to the end of the game. And I would hope that he can keep it up as long as he is continuing to start. That leads to one of our next topics. So today, Coach Dave Canales said that Dalton will definitely be starting for this weekend's game against the Bengals. Do you think it would be a smart idea to have him start the rest of the season and let Bryce Young sit, observe, and learn the rest of the season?
I mean, as of right now, yes, I think it'd be, obviously after 1 week, a 1 week performance on, from Andy Dalton, I think it could benefit Bryce Young. It's one of those things that if Andy Dalton somehow, next couple of weeks or, later down the season starts to struggle a little bit, hopefully we keep it going with him for the next few weeks. But I mean, as long as Andy Dalton continues to play well, this is his team. We're not going to change over to Bryce. I mean, if we continue to win ball games and Andy Dalton continues to perform and not turn the ball over and play well, this is going to be his team. If he, has a couple of weeks back to back where he struggles and kind of looks like Bryce did the first 2 weeks, I think we could go back to Bryce. Like I said, I hope, best case scenario is Andy Dalton continues to play well and, we win some games, can compete. But Andy Dalton's the quarterback going forward, and he should be. I mean, whenever you perform well, you should be the quarterback. And I'm behind Andy Dalton, and I'm behind whoever, as a Panthers fan, I'm going to be behind whoever's trots out there to play quarterback for us. That being said, it's really up in the air after 1 week with Bryce, man. It's from what we see on the sideline, he's a great teammate, and he's, Bryce is a great guy from all reports and, everything you see on TV. But, hopefully he could take something out of this and learn from it and still potentially be our franchise quarterback down the line. I mean, he's still young, 22, 23 years old, and he's still developing and learning. Andy Dalton's 36 years old. So there's nothing that says, Bryce can't turn around in a couple years and play till he's 36. We've seen quarterbacks in this league play till they're 40. So, obviously Aaron Rodgers is up there in age. Andy Dalton's 36. Kirk Cousins is 36. And we've seen these quarterbacks have success later in their careers. But, it's one of those things that we just got to watch and see.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we've seen where products of a young quarterback sitting behind the vet for a bit of years can benefit them. I mean, look at Patrick Mahomes. Aaron Rodgers was 1-2 with Brett Favre. I mean, it's one of those things that, yeah, there you go. Jordan Love behind Aaron Rodgers as well. It's one of those things that I think is very beneficial. And that's also a current topic, actually, hearing a lot of analysts and former players say that nowadays, and even Tom Brady recently said it, nowadays they throw out these young rookie quarterbacks as a starting quarterback, putting them in the fire so early where they're not developing, as the way they should. Tom Brady recently said that, and I think Shannon Sharp also said that today on First Take. I mean, it's a lot of truth to that statement or that topic. It's look at Bryce Young. You go out there, he struggled his whole first year. And what they're doing now, for me personally, is what I wish they did the entire first year last year, letting Dalton play majority of the season. Maybe let Bryce Young get some minutes here and there. But I really wanted him to learn last year. But they automatically threw him out in the fire. And at least Canales saw that process wasn't working very well. And he made that adjustment to pull Bryce Young and start Dalton. And I think in the long run, if we, continue to keep Bryce for the upcoming years to come, I think that'll benefit him. And, honestly, we all can say if Bryce played yesterday, it would not have been the same outcome at all. I'm sure you could say it too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It wouldn't have been.
No. I mean, by halftime, Dalton already had 15 completed passes out of 22 attempts, 212 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That was by the end of the first half. I mean, by the end of the first half, the past 2 games, we were already getting blown out. The game was already called. So It's a big, big difference. And it shows. And honestly, what we're seeing now, or what we saw yesterday, is the way I vision our team would be, if outside of Bryce Young, like our receivers and such. I mean, Andy Dalton, he had all of them cooking. All of them had receptions. Yep. 3 different people had touchdowns. I mean, it's everything you wanted to see and what you hope for coming into the season. So hopefully that momentum can keep up. Hopefully, Dalton, he is up in age. So hopefully he can stay healthy as long as he keeps starting and continue to give us games like this. It's just great to see a Panthers win in that, aspect. I was hoping we would win but I was thinking it was going to be a little more close. But he led that game by a good bit, majority of that game.
Yeah. I mean, for sure. It was really nice pointing out, going back to offseason additions, Deontay Johnson, man, showed during this game, he showed, that he could be that number one guy, looked great all game. And going into the year, as you mentioned, it was kind of what we wanted to see the first 2 weeks, especially, trading for him, bringing him in kind of for Bryce to have that number one guy. And it just so happened that Andy Dalton ended up, really helping his production in week 3. But, you know, Deontay Johnson looks like that guy. I mean, in my opinion, my personal opinion, he's not going to be, Devontae Adams in his prime. He's not going to be Justin Jefferson, but he's still going to be a solid option and the wide receiver one in this offense. And moving forward, I would expect us to use him a lot more like we used him this past week, targeting him early on, many different routes, different route combinations, isolating them. I would expect us to do the same thing moving forward and hopefully find success doing that. But last time before we move on, going back to Bryce, I think hopefully in the long run, this could benefit him and his career development. Getting benched is not good by any means, but you could always take something out of it. And we can only hope that Bryce, looks at Andy Dalton and what he's doing, kind of how he's orchestrating the offense and move forward and hopefully learn a little bit from Andy. Obviously, Andy's been in the league for a long time and seen a lot of different defenses, seen a lot of different looks, and hopefully Bryce can pick his brain as much as possible. And as we mentioned, be the franchise quarterback, if not this year, maybe next year, the year after. But Bryce has just got a lot of developing to do and, a lot of maturing. He's shown, or, this league is tough, man. It's the best of the best players in the world. And, it's vastly different from college ball. So, but yeah, great to see Andy Dalton perform the way he did. Great to see the team play the way they did and, get back in the win column. And it was just nice, man. It was a breath of fresh air. It really was. But obviously moving forward to next week, we got the Bengals. Hopefully, Andy could play the way he did this past week. What are your expectations for this upcoming week against the Bengals?
Well, I think we can keep up. I mean, to me, they're a little more of a talented team compared to Las Vegas. We're talking Joe Burrow. We're talking Jamar Chase. I know they've had their few little struggles so far this season, but I just feel like they'll be a little more of a competitor compared to Vegas for us personally as a team of where we are. But I think we can keep up. If Andy Dalton plays like he did again, there's a chance of us winning. We just have to see, like I said, the momentum. That's just my thing. If is Andy Dalton at his age and where he is in his career able to keep that going week by week?
Yeah.
We haven't seen him starting since he left probably Cincinnati. I know he played, I think, for the Bears for a second. He played for the Saints and the Cowboys, not in that particular order, but I don't think he was starting with those teams unless somebody got hurt. But we just got to see if he can keep that up. I mean, he's a talented quarterback, always has been, and it shows he's still got a lot of gas in the tank. But if he brings that momentum, I think he could pull off another win. I feel like it'll be a little closer just because the talent they have over there in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I see it. What about you?
Well, I mean, obviously, there wasn't a whole lot of film on Andy Dalton this past week. The Raiders had to go off of the Seahawks game this previous year, and obviously maybe some film when he played for the Saints and Cowboys. Obviously, the Bengals are going to have some more film on Andy, and kind of what we did good last week, and try to scheme against that. I think it boils down to, obviously turnovers early in the game. We can't have turnovers early in the game. If we're able to get in the game script and move down the field and do some good things and not to turn the ball over and not make mistakes, penalties, turnovers, things that kill your team early on in games. If we could manage that and, even if we're not scoring early on, as long as we're not turning the ball over, punt and we could flip field position and put our defense in good spots. That's another thing the past couple of weeks, week 1 and 2 that we struggled with is, putting our defense in tough situations. It was just all around, go not to harp on it too much because we already did, but it was just all around bad performance. We continue to put our defense in good situations and not turn the ball over and do the little things correctly, we could hang in with the Bengals. I think if we start turning the ball over early, and not look good, early penalties, putting our defense in, bad situations on our own side of the field, we could have some problems. But if we play anything like or like we did against the Raiders this past week, I think we could have a chance to win. Obviously the Bengals have a significantly better quarterback than the Raiders did, playing Joe Burrow this week from playing Gardner Minshew last week. But it's gonna be interesting to see again, how Andy does and how Andy, another week of preparation and the Bengals getting some film on them and kind of seeing what we did well last week and try to scheme against that. It's gonna be a chess match, but hopefully we could put up a good fight and ultimately maybe win the game.
Yeah, let's hope so. I mean, like you alluded to and I did earlier, Bengals are more of a talented squad compared to where the Raiders are. So we just have to keep up. Can't really turn the ball over. Anytime we have possession of the ball, hopefully we can get it down the field and score like we did against the Raiders. I mean, literally our first drive, we scored, which was something we had not seen so far this season. So that satisfied me seeing that they were able to do that majority of their possessions, or at least just to get down the field to field goal range, just to get some type of numbers on the board.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Hoping for a good outing. Maybe we could turn this thing around and go to 2-2, and then everything's out in front of us. This division, especially with the Falcons losing this past week. I think we were the only team to win. I know the Bucks lost against Bo Nix and the Broncos, and then the Saints losing against Philly, and then yeah, Saints losing against Philly, and then Atlanta losing against the Chiefs. Anyway, moving on to some Hornets updates. Obviously, the Hornets just signed a free agent. Do you want to go kind of into that and kind of what that means for our roster moving forward?
Yeah, gladly. So the Hornets signed Harry Giles III to a 1-year deal. Just a few facts on Harry Giles. He was actually drafted by the Portland Trail Blazers, but traded on the night of draft night to the Kings in 2017. And he was actually the #1 high school recruit before he went to college. He went to Duke. He's a Dookie. I can gladly say that because I'm a diehard Tar Heels fan. Go Heels. But he is a native from North Carolina, Wilmington, if I'm not mistaken, to be exact. So he's back in his home city. He is a 6'10" center with a 7'3" wingspan, which is pretty big. Like I said, he was a high prospect coming out of high school, which has actually put him above people like Jason Tatum and such. But so far in his career, he hasn't lived up to what he was as a recruit going to college. But we can see what he can do. Maybe that's another, big body for the team. Hopefully he can get us some rebounds, hopefully get some, buckets, taking it to the rim. So far his career he was actually not playing for a little bit in the NBA. So I think last he played for the LA Lakers and their G League affiliate, the South Bay Lakers. So maybe he's working his way back up. Looking around at just on Twitter, seeing different takes on the signing. Some people said it was actually a sleeper steal. We just have to see what he can do for us. I'm assuming he may spend some time in the G League again, even though I know they said he was signed on a 1-year. But sometimes players like that, they move up and down. So we'll just have to see once the season comes. But speaking of the season, we are officially a month away from Hornets basketball.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
Man, I'm excited. Always look forward to, I can't claim to be the biggest NBA guy, but I'm always been a Hornets fan and enjoy watching them, enjoy watching LaMelo and obviously Brandon Miller last year. This signing, to me, it's kind of just one of those roster filler signings to me. Obviously, as you said, going back to how highly he was recruited in high school, obviously he has, hopefully I feel like the organization's hoping to get that last ounce of raw talent out of him and hopefully develop him a little bit. I mean, as you mentioned, Duke guy, highly recruited, and hasn't lived up to the expectations brought on him this far, but we have a lot of guys on the roster right now that have a lot of raw talent. It's just about developing them. And we go back to the first round pick, the 6th overall pick this past year out of France, and kind of developing these guys and hoping that we could bring their talent out and, make them serviceable guys in the NBA. I'm looking forward to this season. I know you are, hoping for at least, this team should be on paper a playoff team. Maybe not a top 6 seed, but definitely a play-in team, and hoping for the best, hoping Brandon Miller takes that next step and really shows that he could be franchise player, hoping LaMelo could stay healthy and Mark Williams takes that next step. Those are really our 3 big pieces. And then obviously Miles Bridges and the rest of the team, but hoping for the best. Obviously only a month out, so it's getting close, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a different feeling of a season coming up with all the changes. New head coach and all, new coaching staff, a few new players. So personally, I would think it's an upgrade for the team a bit. It's definitely 100% different for the most part, out excluding LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges, and such. This is a pretty much completely different team than what we started with last year, because we made a lot of changes by the deadline last year. And, at the end of the season, it showed a little bit of advancement when we got, Trey Mann and then Grant Williams, Seth Curry. It was just kind of a different dynamic of a team. We saw some flashes of some new talent that we could bring in this year. And then we made some more moves in the offseason. So, like you said, hopefully we can at least make the playoffs, even if we got to go through the play-in. Hopefully this time we can actually win the play-in. We got there 2 years in a row, a few years back, but got annihilated in both games. It was such a disappointment, but and it was to the same team back-to-back years too. So hopefully it's a better year. Hopefully we can have something to be excited about in Charlotte sports. We had a nice little performance by the Panthers yesterday. Maybe I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself, but maybe it could be a little turnaround of some sort, showing what our team can do when everybody's in sync with each other. So hopefully the Hornets don't get the same curse, because both teams had that curse together over, I can't even tell you how long, definitely
Yeah.
over 10 years or so.
Yeah.
So hopefully we're starting to see the light of a new day with both teams. And again, Hornets are really in a different spot just with everything being different. So hopefully it's the start of something new in a positive way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, looking back on it, from our past couple coaches, from James Borrego to bringing Steve Clifford back, and then obviously now Charles Lee, I haven't been this excited about a coach. Geez, I don't think I've ever, in my Hornets fandom, ever been this excited for a head coach, especially just, his resume he brings in, obviously having a lot of success, been with the Celtics last year, obviously winning a championship, just the championship pedigree he's brought. Obviously hadn't been a head coach yet, but, brings that energy and brings that vibe to the team. Obviously bringing Kemba Walker back as a player development coach, just huge for the team, good vibes, all around, and, hoping for the best for Charles Lee and hoping that he could be that guy for us in the next great coach in the NBA and up and coming. So, obviously a lot to look forward to this year for the Hornets. They're actually starting the year. I know I think they play in Atlanta for game 2, I do believe, the second game of the regular season. And might have to make an appearance to that game. I know we're kind of close. I'm trying to pull some strings and make it to that game, but obviously hoping for the best for the team, and hoping we have some success.
And actually, while we're on the topic of coaches, I want to backtrack to the Panthers for a second. I just want to take a second to give it up for Coach Canales after yesterday's win. He really had a great performance as a coach yesterday. And I think him receiving the game ball was well-deserved. Post-game, just seeing that whole clip of when he entered the locker room, just seeing the energy he brought, it made me excited to be a Panther fan again. I know it's just for one game, but it took me back to during that time when Cam and Coach Rivera and all of them were still there. Back then it was nothing like being a Panther fan. And, I hope one day we can get back to that. But yesterday was just a nice little nostalgic feeling of that time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously his first win as NFL head coach was huge. I think, there's only up to go from here. So, hoping for the best for the team, obviously hoping Andy Dalton can continue to perform the way he has been this past week, hoping for another, hopefully he could repeat. It's one time, it's just a write-off. Hopefully he can be consistent and, show he's still got it, week in and week out, and not expecting 300 yards and 3 touchdowns every game, but, hoping to limit the turnovers, have a good run game and see where the game takes us each week. But obviously this division is, we're going into week 4. This division is wide open, especially with everybody else in our division losing this past week. I know we're tied with the Falcons. I know the Saints have a better record than us, and I know the Bucks have a better record than us, but this division's wide open and anything can happen. We're still early. There's still so much time to go, and hopefully we can turn around and play well.
And that's honestly the story of the NFC South for the past, I couldn't even tell you how many seasons. It's always been open like that.
Yep.
It's always gets to that point where just about any team could make the playoffs if they wanted to, depending on the record. I know last year that's where we were. Everybody was like in the same boat. Everybody was really in a bad place, but it was, like I said, it was to a point where like one win or two could get one team at least to the playoffs. So we'll see how it goes. Like you said, it's open. It's just a traditional NFC South story. It never fails.
Yep, never fails. It's always wide open. Anybody's for the taking. Anyway, Buzz Pound, we appreciate y'all joining us for this episode 4. We really appreciate y'all for sticking around with us and listening to us each week. Me and Cam both really enjoy doing this, and we enjoy talking Carolina sports. You could always find us on X and Instagram at BuzzPoundPod, and you could listen to our podcast on both YouTube at BuzzPoundPod, and you could find us at BuzzPound Podcast on Spotify. Like I said, we really appreciate y'all, and we enjoy doing this.
I'm a piggyback off of Ian there. We truly appreciate all the listeners who provide any feedback, and just take the time out their day to listen to us. The feedback I've heard has been positive for the most part. And, just kind of be patient with us. I mean, we're both new to this. Each episode, we hope to get better at it. I'm sure there's quite a difference compared to the first episode all the way up to now. Hopefully there is. I mean,
yeah, I think there definitely is.
Definitely. I mean, I definitely feel a lot more comfortable that first time. It's just like, I kind of, you don't want to have like a brain fart or anything and have too many mistakes, but that's the fun of it all. I mean, you get to talk about the sports that you love. And there's nothing like it.
Yep.
So Buzz Pound, we appreciate you all again. And until next time, we are the Buzz Pound. Keep pounding and Buzz City.
Right. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Buzz Pound. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and let us know what you thought of this episode. Until next time, this is the Buzz Pound.
Touchdown.